in the role of Kayla, Annie Nelson. In the role of Alicia, Sophia Brown. In the role of Moses, Dwayne Barrett. In the role of Curtly, David Webber. And in the role of Chantal, Miss Michelle Alston. Keep it going, keep it going, keep it going. Welcome to all of you and congratulations again on a fantastic, fantastic film. Michelle, I would like to start with you. You have worked with Mike Leigh before. Some people here might not know that Mike Leigh has a very singular process. Could you take us behind the curtain a little bit and explain to us what that entails?
Okay, well, when you sign up to the film, you don't know what it's about, you don't know who you're playing. Through a process of creating character, which is presenting Mike with a list of people that you know or you might have met and you describe to him, he kind of whittles it down. And you base your character on some real people that you know or you might have seen. And then you sort of start from day one, their first memory, who they are, where they went to school. He also introduces your character to other characters along the way, and very slowly, through improvisation and lots of other exercises, you create the world of the film. And if you think about the rehearsal process, I suppose the best way to describe it is to sort of say you are creating the world of the film up until the point at which the film starts. Mike goes away and he has ideas about structure, and what he's brilliant at is he's also setting off little bombs and little traps for your character to fall into when you start filming. And that's sort of it. You only know what your character knows. That's really important. So for us, when there's lots of the film that we didn't know until we went to that first screening in Soho, when we were all slightly terrified.
So as I mentioned, this is not your first go around with Mike. In what ways was this one the same, and in what ways was it different for you?
Oh, well, I mean, it always starts the same way about creating the character. That doesn't change. I mean, to be honest, I suppose this was extra special because I was working with Marianne again, and I hadn't worked with her for almost like 30 years or something ridiculous. So that was wonderful. And I suppose the only other thing is that it was a shorter rehearsal period, But it's exactly the same. It's the same hard, terrifying, but fulfilling work. Do you know what I mean?
The work is incredible. David, as I understand it, you're working on your own with your character for months, and then you come onto set and you're meeting these characters, you're meeting these people for the first time. You're playing Pansy's husband, Curtly. What was that first meeting between your characters like?
Even the fact that we were going to be a couple I didn't know, so I was new in this thing, and then it was actually quite nerve-wracking when we met in that sense, because you're in this kind of world where all you're thinking about is Curtly and his Genesis, where he's from, but even within that process, things changed, and that I decided that Curtly was born in Catford, and I know Catford really well. So, it was all the familiar surroundings, and Mike's like, well, suppose you were born in northwest London. So it kind of moves up, because otherwise the film wouldn't work, because Pansy and Curtly had met at school. So he ain't going to be from Catford and she's from Wilson, so it's not going to work. So all of a sudden I could imagine my character coming from Wilson. So, you know, but it changed it subtly. But it's just one of those things that you so you can't. It's not entirely entrenched because you have to then fit in with everyone else. So you know you have to then otherwise there's no story. You can't be at school halfway across London. It doesn't make any sense. So things like that, just little things like that, but they're important. But you're all kind of so in on yourself, working on these characters, the people, the history of these people that inform your character. And my character came out of 4 different people that I knew in the past, whittled down from a list of about 150 black men from my past, down to 4. And then you make this person up. And then when Mike's happy that he's a real person and that you'll physically know him, then you start meeting, and I was meeting Marianne. And it was just, you just don't know what's going to happen, because I don't know what Pansy is like, what her background is, and what, I found out pretty quickly that things wasn't going to be easy. So so it was exciting, a little bit scary, but the scariness went away like in a half an hour, because Marianne is so lovely, you see this person that you think, you've seen her on screen and she's so big, and then but as a person she's so loving and kind and generous that all that went to one side, and we just got on with it, but it was like fighting every day because if you can imagine the background of this couple, what led them to there, what they were like 30 years ago, 20 years ago, there were lots of emotional turmoil, and some days we would come out of our improvisation, like me going on for a few hours, and we're just like shaking because it had been so horrible. And then we couldn't talk about it. You can't talk about it to each other. You can't even say, "Gosh," So but it was really, really wonderful, because you could just be completely involved in something, and it's so real, and it felt strong, and it was because Marianne is so in what she's doing that you could do the same, and you know what I mean, be completely in character. And it's a dream for an actor to be like that. It's very pure acting. If that makes sense.
Dwayne, you're incredible in this film. I know that you've described yourself as an overthinker. What were those rehearsal sessions like for you, and how did you relax into those improvisational nature of what this project was?
It was thank you first of all. It was great. It was, as Michelle said, terrifying, because I wanted to know everything. I wanted to be able to know his relationships with his family, and I wanted to know the whole storyline before we even started, but I couldn't. I think the hardest part was not overthinking, my character's reactions or his thoughts and feelings about the world, and just kind of going with it, which is scary, because sometimes, like, as people, we love to be in control, and not being in control of stuff.
Sophia and Annie, you can pass the microphones down. I love your sisterly dynamic in this film. The first scene you guys have is so awesome. Really fun. What did you guys do beforehand to craft these characters and make sure that that authenticity was so lived in and enjoyable?
I think we started as Michelle was saying, we start the process separately. But I think Annie and I started building our characters together maybe sooner than most of the other characters, because we are sisters, they are sisters. So, I don't know, I think it just grew organically, and I mean...
Yeah, I think we had a lot of conversations, like a lot of the rehearsal process was I sat down and Mike asked some questions like, what did they do, or like how many friends did they have, who were their friends, and like going through those questions in your mind, and with Sophia, like trying to piece it all together was really, I think, really helped us kind of create the relationship and like the shared memories and stuff that helped us kind of bring it to life, I think.
Yeah, it helps when you're building like their history, and then we were essentially kind of bringing our own memories and then pairing them together, and then making. It felt so real. Like there was a memory that we had where our family went to Disney World, and we kind of paired a memory of holidays that we had in our own personal lives, and we brought it together and kind of fused this new memory that it felt and feels real. And then their first time going to carnival, those sorts of things that we then as the characters could drop in and then remember those moments. So then it was, when we were doing the improvisations, like you can really like recall these memories, let's say, and it bonds you in that moment. So
amazing. Laura, you are a makeup and hair designer. In this film, Michelle plays Chantal, and she is a hairdresser. So the first question I have to ask you is, how would you grade Michelle's performance? And what were you looking to convey character-wise with the makeup and the hair with the various characters?
For me, I wanted everybody to look very natural. After speaking to all the cast, I didn't want the makeup to be the thing that you notice when you're watching them on the screen. That would just take away from the characters. Everybody had makeup on, all the men and all the women. And it was also a thing that I made a conscious effort that no two characters were going to have the same hairstyles. Because, when you look around, when you walk around and see black women or black men, you don't look the same. We change our hairstyles very often. So I wanted it to look very natural, not to look like they've stepped out of the salon. So you can believe that they've done their own makeup and they've done their own hair. There were scenes where I was standing back watching and things didn't look right. There was a couple of scenes that really jumped out at me when Pansy's character's moving around at a dinner table and a couple of her braids are stuck behind their head and she's moving. And I went up to Mike and said, "Can we do this again? Because I really don't like that." He says, "No. It looks very natural, it's believable, because if you were sitting there talking and your hair was caught behind you, that's what would happen. Leave it alone." So it was a really reassuring to know that I've done the right thing without it looking like they've just walked out of a makeup and hair trailer.
And Michelle's hairdressing skills?
Fantastic. Really good.
There's an ongoing conversation in this industry about the lack of black hairstylists, the lack of black makeup people. For you guys, for the actors, how does it feel like for you knowing Nora is there, knowing she has your back, knowing she's on set, helping you out with all this? Because I'm sure there have been other experiences where you haven't had that.
I would just say it was like really comforting, because as part of the process when you're talking about your character's hairstyle and stuff, it was really nice to work with someone who like understood the different like possibilities. Like we were talking about texture release, we were talking about like relaxer, braids, all that kind of stuff. And it was just good to have, or like my character, she's a runner, and we were talking about like how would she do her hair for the gym kind of thing, because it would sweat out because obviously her hair's pressed and stuff. So having someone that understood like black hair basically was, I mean I've never experienced that before, and it was just really reassuring. So thank you.
It was a very, very emotional experience for me personally, because this year is going to be like the 40th year in acting, and it was the first time. Welcome. Really, really good. Let's get that clear. But anyway, but seriously, it is. Normally, when I go with my experience in film and in television, is that I go into makeup and a makeup artist comes up and goes, oh God, you're dead easy, you're lovely. Oh my God, don't need to do anything. You just come on there, we'll just give you a little pat down, fancy shine. Oh God, that's so easy, my job's so easy, thanks. And that's it. Over, doing that for 40 years, that's normal. Oh, you don't need makeup, your skin's lovely, oh, that's fine. Until went in the same and I thought, cool, I wanted to watch the football that night because it was quite late in the day. I want to get home back to South London to watch the football. And we were in there for 3 hours. And I'm thinking, all of a sudden I have shades on my face, which are different. I have makeup, which suits me, and really, and I have people interested in my hair. Oh, that's interesting. So that's it's one of the one of the hidden sides of racism. Racism is not always active and in your face, but sometimes it's in the absence of things. In not seeing you. It's just like this stuff on your head that isn't looked at. And I know when I was a kid, walking in the street in Manchester, where I'm from, a black person from across the street was calling me, an older person, and I called him and I said, go across the road and said, why? You never call me Ed from across the road. But when I work with makeup artists, with white makeup artists, they can't tell whether I've combed my hair or not. No difference. Oh yeah, it's just great, it's lovely. And so they might say, oh, might trim your beard. So what I'm saying, it was so moving for someone to know I had a makeup colour, I needed makeup, I actually, and I remember between takes, one take, someone ran over to me to just brush the back of my hair because nobody could see my hair before. And it was just moving, and it made me angry as well. But also, that to me was such a special part of the film. And thank you.
Thank you so much for sharing that. I love asking this question. For anyone here, you can take a stab at this. If there was going to be a movie about the making of this movie, what is the day, what is the scene, what is the moment that you'd be most excited for audiences to see?
Can I answer that?
Yeah, absolutely.
So the antithesis of the Mother's Day brunch is all of us in a green room, absolutely hysterical, because I brought in a Jamaican proverb book, which we just made Marianne read out. That's all we needed to do. And she would read it out. She'd also created a character, which I won't go into now. But in order to do all that stuff, and it was and they were big scenes and powerful scenes, but what was going on was the madness and the laughter and the kind of sort of love in the other room was so special. I don't know if that properly answers your question, but I just want to say that we did have an incredible time. And as David says, the wonderful thing about Marianne, apart from the fact that she's an extraordinary actress, is that she's an absolute goof and idiot, and she just made it so much fun, didn't she? So I'd like there to have been some sort of outtake of us in that very hot room inside trying to keep it cool, that sort of thing. And we did have a really great time.
I would say with what Toyin was saying, it's hard not to overthink that you're in a Mikey film. For me anyway as well, I definitely was thinking that a lot. And the behind the scenes, let's say, like what Michelle's saying, were the moments where they planted you and you could be like, the laughter, the just being together in that way really made you present and made you kind of just sink into it. So yeah.
There was some levity. This is a very heavy film. I'm glad that there was some levity for you guys. I'm going to open up the questions in just a minute. So if you have one, please raise your hand and the roving mic will find you. I wanted to ask, in some ways, the ending to this film is quite ambiguous. What are your wishes for your characters beyond the end of this movie, days, months, years from now? What would you like them to be doing? How would you like them to be?
Do we have a mic?
Anyway.
Do we have a mic left?
Yeah.
Oh, sorry. Watching the film was actually, I changed my views watching it. It's really funny because when you do it, it's so personal and it's your thing, and then after a while it becomes this other person who's nothing to do with you, and then you're watching his life. And I noticed things that I learned watching it, which is weird, but it's true. I noticed a real desperation in Curtly to be loved and to be for affection that I think he wanted his whole life. I'd like him to find love.
Me too.
Well, I mean, I've said this before. I hope that Chantal just gets on the apps, really.
Yeah.
Swipe.
Swipe left.
I want hard truths too, and I want that to be able to put us out. That's fantastic. I love that. Does anyone have any questions for our panelists? Oh, I see one hand here. Wait for the mic. Yeah.
Go for it. There we go. How did you deal with the negativity? Because I found it incredibly full on and almost emotionally eviscerating. It was just utterly oppressive. So just having the staying power to continue to. So how did you do it? Please?
Who is that for?
So the question for me.
Yeah.
I guess anyone who feels they can answer it.
The great thing about working with Mike is that he's very strict when it comes to going in and out of character. So we had all the times that we were ourselves. We had time after he would tell us get into character, and however long that took us to get into character, that's how long it took. And then after a take, he would say come out of character, and then we took time to come out of character then as well. And I think the great thing about that is you're really differentiating yourself from who you're playing. And not only that, it's when you are out of character, how can you stay happy in a film like this? And that is through camaraderie and just like spending time with one another, cracking jokes, and then when it comes to it, jumping back in. And there were moments where it was difficult. Like it was difficult to, because obviously you don't want to be, as Pansy says, ha ha he all the time. And there's some scenes where that's not, it's not possible to come out of character and still be jokey. It was just about discipline. That was the main focus, and that's how we were able to hopefully portray that. Yeah.
There's a lot of rage in this film, and I think David and Tulane, as your characters bear the brunt of it. But some of it, especially in early going, is laced with humour. I was wondering, did you find it at all funny in the moment? And have you watched this with audiences and gotten to different reactions in that regard? Because there are times when I've watched it with the audience and people have been silent, and there are times when people are actually still laughing at some of Pansy's insults, which are great, by the way.
Yeah, they're unreal. There's so many times where I would come out laughing so hard at the harshest bits, and even the part where, so I watched it with my mum and grandma, and when Pansy says, Moses Deacon, I'm not your servant, my grandma just whispered, I am. And I was like, okay. And at first, when we watched it all together in a room in Soho, I didn't find that funny at all. Like, I really didn't like that. And then watching it with family and friends, it's like, oh yeah, that is quite funny, yeah.
I didn't think I would find any particular enjoying the film. But you have to remember, I only knew what Courtney knew, so our household was slightly different. I was watching, I go, hey, they got to. I was in the wrong house, but the house was like the fun house, and then there was the Deacon house, you know. So, but it was for me, it was. I didn't think, having been through that experience, that I would say find humour or sympathy for Pansy, because I saw Pansy from the other side. I mean, you know, Pansy and Courtney were rowing, you know, 20 odd years ago, because Pansy hadn't got pregnant, and she was blaming Courtney, saying Courtney was firing blanks, and there bare arguments and rows. So this is what you don't see. This is all sort of lead up. And then, hey, you know, Moses is born. Thank goodness, you know. So at the time, it's so strange. You don't even know if the baby's going to come, if it's going to happen. And so all of this history is there, and all the rows that we had, and all the fights that we had. And then I thought, well, I'm not going to be sympathetic. And then I was completely sympathetic. Found her funny, found her engaging, and I was completely sympathetic and rooting for her as well. So that was the power of Marianne and the character, but also the humanity that she brings to it. That it's not just, you know, because I can step out from what Courtney experienced and see her from the outside. So that was good, and then I could laugh as well.
We've got a question over here. Yeah. Wait for the mic. I have a pause for Angelina, people. She's running around.
Well done, Terrell Mullen. Acting was stellar. I thought it was really natural. Watching the film, it was quite surreal, and because of how hyper-real it was. As a black person watching it, I had a question about some of the heavy themes that were kind of covered, so like OCD, the spectrum, depression as well. Did you find it confronting performing those characters, and also did you refer to something that you were familiar with in this film, and did that kind of help you in your process?
Is that for Michelle?
It's for everyone.
Okay.
I'm going to sort of half quote Marianne on this, because I feel like it's almost like a question that she needs to address in a way. I know that she obviously did some work around some of those issues, but I think what she said in the past is that Pansy's character is, she comes from a generation where maybe there wasn't that vocabulary. And that's certainly something that we talked about afterwards. We talked about the fact, that in creating these characters, what we were saying was it was a family where obviously these are women in their 50s, right? So when they were kids, if you had a kid that was saying, I don't want to go outside, your mum would say, go outside, right? Or, if I don't like eating that, well, you're going to be made to eat that. So obviously these are people that didn't have the vocabulary to say sort of what was going on for them. And I think, and to sort of pick up on what David said, I think that is also part of the hard watch for me, because I think I'm watching it, as a kind of, liberal metropolitan kind of going, somebody help us, somebody give us some help. But actually, for this particular family, she doesn't have the vocabulary to say what her pain is, and they also don't have the vocabulary to know how to help her, and that's sort of the beauty of the film in a way, and I think that's why it's kind of, it sort of gets you in the solar plexus, really. But we didn't, to quickly answer the question, I didn't answer it quickly, we didn't do that kind of, we didn't do work around, well, this is a film about depression or OCD, because that's not how Mike works. It's really about creating the characters and the life and the relationships, and then all of those other things come into existence. Yeah. Oh, sorry.
Yeah, we certainly didn't talk about issues and decide, well, we'd like to bring this into the film, or we'd like to touch this and touch that. That's not, it's so not like that. Personally, I never thought about Courtney's mental health per se. I just thought about his life and his experience and how that made him feel. But it was a very kind of internal thing. I never wanted to make him do this or make him do that or make him like that. He just was as he was. But after a while, he kind of took his own life from us. The character took on his own life. This person was alive and 3D and real, and I could watch and I could sort of let him run and be with him. And then now I look back and I think he could do it how. And if you look at that house, that's what's painful to watch. The Deacon household, 3 people, all need help for different reasons. But it was never, this house got this and we're like mental health. None of that was but you look at it, you can see it's obvious. But that's so real because most people in those situations have no idea that they're in that situation. They just, I'm what I am. You see what you see is what you get, words like phrases like that, and people just are. They're not thinking that they need, and you meet them, and you might go away and think, boy, that they could do it, But when they're in the people who are like that, like Kirby, who can't express himself, he doesn't think about the phrase mental health ever. Kirby's not going to get counselling or help. I can only speak for one, so it's sad to watch and painful.
A lot of what both of you are saying reminds me of maybe my favourite line in the film, which is, I don't understand you, but I love you, which is just, makes me emotional right now. Any other questions? Yes, we've got one right at the back. Keep your hand up, please. Keep your hand up. Thank you.
Sorry to say.
Hi guys, well done for that very moving performance. I was wondering if that would be different. I know it's Mike Lee, but would it have been different if a black director had done it? Say Spike Lee, should it have been a different story? Would it have been kind of the same sort of thing?
Can I say something?
One more other question before you answer that. Why is it taking so long for you to get a black hair and makeup artist on a set? You must have been able to bring your makes in or your hairdresser or your makeup artist.
Well, I think it's about power and control, and who's in power, who has control, who pays the piper, and who hires people. It's also about the absent normal of white is the absent normal people. So if a group of white people in power make a film, not doing this thing overtly, but they see things, white is the norm, and that's usual. And that's what always is okay. And you have to remember, a lot of TV and film, especially, from the 90s and things like that, there were, some had no black people in at all, so it wasn't even discussed. So that's what I'm saying, it's like the absolute norm. No one in power was there to say, hey, And I was, in my sort of thing, I just thought, that was okay, because I trusted professional makeup people that they knew. And I thought, I'm lucky. I don't need all that. That's lucky, that's great, because I didn't know. It's only until I met a really professional and a black person who could see black skin and black hair and told me about that. That's the only time I heard. So I wasn't, I thought, wow, it's great for me, makeup takes 2 minutes. So that answers that question, I don't know. You asked another question, didn't you?
Mike Lee.
A bigger question in some ways. It's actually, I think, I want to speak for me, I don't think it's, I think it's the case if any director other than Mike Lee did, it would be completely different. And I think in a sense, that's probably more to the point in this. Normally I see exactly where you come, and I know what you're saying. And I had my concerns, what's going to be like for that cast and a white director or something. We're going to try and make statements and make things about black people, which that just never happened. This, in my mind, is classic Mike Lee. He's gone back to his home base, and that people who watch Mike Lee films will go, oh yeah, this is a Mike Lee. It's textbook Mike Lee, in my opinion. So, and it just happens to be with this group of people. And so, in a sense, if it was with any other director, it would be completely black, white, whatever, it would be completely different because Mike Lee does his own thing. And Mike Lee never tried to make a statement about this is black people. He never wasn't trying to represent or to say this or this, these are the ideas. So that wasn't so, I think I know what you're getting at, very much so. And so in general, of course, but then again, it would be such a different film that, you know, and I think that film could be made as well. It wouldn't, but it just wouldn't be this film. So in a way, it's almost like it doesn't make sense because this film was valid to be made. And then, you know, we're all mostly available. You can call us, and any back director wants to call us. We're here. Seriously, and we'll do another film, but it'll be completely different. And so, and there's room for 100,000 different films about black people. So we don't need to say, oh, because then you go, okay, but if it was, you said Spike Lee. Well, suppose it was, you know, Steve McQueen. Or suppose it was the next man doing it, it's going to be different again. Suppose it was a brother from over here doing it. You know, so suppose the young guy, a young black man doing it, or a woman doing it, a black woman. They're all going to be, and that's the beauty of it, because we're millions of different things. And I'm not being, trying to be, I mean, I'm trying to say that we have so many stories within us that to think that simply, oh, what would it be like with a black person? It actually, I find myself, it's unusual for me to say things like that, but actually would be fantastic because that'd be another film. So, but then it wouldn't make we wouldn't know because it would be so different. It could go on the next cinema, you go and see that. Does that make any sense? It's just be a completely different film, and great, let's do it. And let's have funding for that, let's keep doing them. But just, you know, this is just one of the films that the problem is they're not enough. And that's why we look at this one, so much of not enough stories like this. There should be so many that question was irrelevant. And that's more the question is why aren't there more? And there should be more.
Thank you.
Sorry, may I say something about hair and
Questions?
makeup?
Yes.
Sorry.
Right, gentleman with black.
Sorry, can I just say something about hair and makeup?
Please, yeah, please.
There are a lot more black hair and makeup artists out there. I think sometimes producers are lazy because they employ the same people they know. I have been a hair and makeup artist I've been a hair and makeup artist for over 30 years, and I don't just make up black skins. I can make up anybody that's put in front of me. That's part of my training. And I think, you know, it's just being visible. When I started in my career, if I was only focusing on making up black skins, I would have starved.
Oh, yeah.
Because there weren't many programs being made with black cast in there. I think now we're fortunate that we're represented more, we can see ourselves on screen. So therefore, you know, there's room for us to shine. It's great to be able to be part of something like this because there's a different variety of hair, skin textures, just to showcase that black skins is not just a one thing. You know, you can no two items of products will work on Annie's hair or Sophia's hair. And that's just being educated to know and to be able to be passionate about what you do and what you love. So there are room for us out there. There are a lot of us. If there are any producers in this room, we do exist.
Yes.
Time for one last question, and here it is.
You described a little bit about the silence of mental health growing up and that you didn't have the language to describe it. I was curious about the scene in the film where Curtis, you threw the flowers outside of the house. And I was curious to know about your actor's preparation or the director's direction or perhaps your own experience that drove that moment.
I think you meant Curtly.
Curtly, yeah.
It's okay, so. Okay. What I would say, first of all, it's a question I've been asked a lot, but I would be more interested to know what you thought, because what you think is actually what's going to count. These Q&As are not going to go around the world and follow everyone, every film performance, much as they'd be nice to do. So people have to go away with their own interpretation of that, and that's hopefully the beauty of it. In terms of Mike asking me to do it, no. That was something Curtis felt in a moment, and he did. And that came from Curtis' history of what he, I'm not going to go into the bits, but, who he was and what had happened. I could give you a very detailed explanation of it, because I know what Curtis thought at that moment, but it wasn't a staged thing. It's something that Curtis just felt at that moment. but what you think about it is what's important, because this is going to go around the world, and people need to think, what does that make me think? And I've had so many different interpretations of it. I used to explain, but I'm not going to anymore. So I'm going to ask you, what do you think that meant?
Continue that conversation outside. Okay, answer very quickly now.
No, actually answering that question, that's what I'm asking.
Yeah, if you
Very quickly.
if you can, very quickly. Yeah.
I guess what you're asking is like reflecting it within the audience's context. And my context is different from a Caribbean context because I grew up in Africa, in Sudan, so how I interpret it is completely different to maybe the impulse or what you're saying. So I appreciate the answer and what you said. It's also personal to me, so I also don't want to share it, but I appreciate what you said, yeah.
And I think that's all the time we have. Hard Truths is playing in UK cinemas from tomorrow. Tell your friends to see it, tell your families to see it, make peace with your enemies as well. Tell them to go and see this incredible movie. But for now, please give it up one more time for Incredible Hearts.